Now, the Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Monday. Hope your work week's off to a good start. Appreciate you hanging out with us here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. We're loaded for the next couple of hours. One specific guest, tried to chase down a couple on the Saints beat, unsuccessful. We'll talk some Saints a little bit later in hour number one. Facts and Childress, Facts on Sports, 105.5. The Roar, the flagship of Clemson Athletics, is going to be with us in an hour. So 2 o'clock, we'll get a look at the beginning, the first week of Clemson camp as LSU and Clemson get ready for a huge season opening showdown there in the Palmetto State. We'll hear from Bo Bordelon in the second hour. I had a chance to speak with him and a number of players on Saturday, so we'll talk a little bit about that at 2:15. Bruce Feldman every single year comes out with his freaks list for college football. LSU's got a couple of guys on that list that we will discuss, and we got to meet the freshmen. We're going to continue to do that day after day until we hit them all. We started that on Friday with 2 of them. We'll get to a couple of more, including former 5-star, 30 minutes from right now. For the first 30 minutes of this show, we're going to talk about Saturday's LSU practice and today's LSU practice because I was able to take in about 2 hours over the course of those 2 days. So let's get things started the way we do every day with our Genesis opening drive.
It's time for Hunt's opening drive, presented by Genesis of Baton Rouge.
So we've got a good look back on Saturday at the Tigers and got another one this morning. This morning, we were only allowed to watch about the last 30 minutes, which is a weird deal. We always get the first 30 minutes. That goes back to Miles and Ogeron and even Kelly. And today, they let us in for the last 30 minutes, which is fine. There's a lot of 7-on-7 and 11-on-11. But since I last spoke with you on Friday, I've had a chance to watch about 2 hours of LSU practice. And I will say this, and I feel the need, I don't know why, but I feel the need to give disclaimers anytime I start talking about things here. And I'm going to give this one. Like, it's August 4th. I'm not really making declarative statements about how LSU's going to look in November right now. But I do feel a little bit differently today than I have in the last couple of camps. And the reason for that is, to me, the defense is punching back here. Now, we may not see, in my time covering LSU moving forward, another discrepancy between the two units like we saw in 2023 with a Heisman winner and 2 guys who, after 1 year in the NFL, made the top 50 players in the league list in Jaden Daniels, Malik Neighbors, and Brian Thomas against the worst defense LSU's ever fielded. That's about as large a dichotomy as you can have between 2 units, and we saw that 2 years ago. And then last year, I came on here and I caught some heat for it, but I said, look, I'm watching these drills, and LSU's not covering anybody. And I'm fully aware that when you run one-on-ones with wide receivers on DBs on a football field that's 53 yards long and you give them 50 yards to operate vertically, it is clearly catered to the offense. I get it. I get 7-on-7 is catered to the offense. The pass rush is a huge part of playing defense. If you don't create any commotion around the quarterback and he has no threat of having his clock cut short, I get it. It's easier to play a quarterback. But what I watched for those 2 years was a defense that almost never made a play. And I don't think that's hyperbole to say. And it concerned me. So I came on here and I said, look, I don't think they can cover. Like, I'm well aware of the star recruits. I mean, not like all stars. I mean, like a lot of 3 and low 4-star recruits that are out there, and it doesn't look like Derek Stingley and Eli Ricks out there, which are, these are 5-star cornerbacks. I get that, but it was just the action on the field. To me, they weren't covering anybody. Today, they covered some people. I charted today. P.J. Woodland running stride for stride with Barry and Brown on a deep ball. Got overthrown, but it wasn't going to get in there anyway. Ashton Stamps shadowed Xavier Thomas down a sideline and broke up a pass on the rail. I saw an incredible play by A.J. Halsey in the 11-on-11, flying downhill and knocking a ball up that was a slant over the middle. I saw Trades Green being shadowed by Whit Weeks in a ball that was sailed high on him. I saw a number of guys, different guys, in multiple reps, shadowing some guys and making some plays on the football. Also saw Harold Perkins with an interception today. They were in a zone concept, and it was on 7-on-7. Nuss thought he saw something. Perkins baited him into it. Nuss made the throw, and Perkins was standing still. Hit him right in the face mask. He ran it back the other way, and Garrett Nussmeier had some choice words for Mr. Perkins on the way back. But the offense certainly made their plays. Trades Green had a ridiculous leaping catch on the right sideline. I saw Kyle Parker once again getting involved with some nice plays. Garrett Nussmeier continues to find a rhythm with Chris Hilton. He found him on a gorgeous, gorgeous throw where it was down the left sideline, kind of on a fade action, but not in the red zone. And there was a little bit of heat on Nussmeier. He stepped up, floated it just over DJ Pickett's head to a streaking Hilton, who the momentum carried him after the catch out of bounds, so it would have been about a 20-yard gain. But it was a perfect throw and catch. Like, there was plenty of good on the offense, but the defense punched back in coverage today. And that's on the heels of Saturday's workout, where LSU's front seven just wrecked. Nussmeier was uncomfortable. He was inaccurate. He didn't have time. They got sacks. It was a host of different guys. Jamari Butler got back there. Bernard Gooden is living in the backfield. I'm going to talk about him a little bit later. We saw Patrick Payton back there a couple times as well. We saw the linebacking core, Tylen Singleton, get in there and create plays in the backfield. I thought LSU's front seven won the day on Saturday, and I thought their back five were very competitive today. And at this point in camp, when I consider that Garrett Nussmeier is a fifth-year senior that threw for 4,000 last year, he threw to Xavion Thomas last year. He's thrown to Chris Hilton for 3 years when he's been healthy. You got Barry and Brown and Chris and Nick Anderson out there. You've got Trades Green, who's now a year into the program. You've got guys that should have some continuity and certainly have a lot of ability, and they're not dominating. I thought they looked really good Wednesday and Thursday last week, and a lot of that was in the one-on-ones. Like Nussmeier in 7-on-7, I believe, had 1 or 2 incompletions the first 2 days I saw, which were Wednesday and Saturday. I saw 1 incompletion in the 7-on-7. And that's more of what I usually see. But today, I saw the coverage. I saw 11-on-11, a little play action, half boot to the right, Nussmeier dumping it off in the flat. Bauer Sharp makes the catch at the line of scrimmage. Harold Perkins right there. It was a 3rd and short, and the official said 4th down. So it probably wouldn't have crossed the line of scrimmage. Perkins was all over the place today. Looked awesome. Looks healthy. Looks physical. And he's in the right place. And this is what I'm talking about with Harold Perkins when I talk about the role he's got to play. He can chase the tight end out into the flat and chop him down. He didn't have to just rush the passer. He baited Nussmeier into a great interception today because he's got some awareness, the ability to catch the football, turn around and run. I want so badly for Harold Perkins to intercept a pass this year because I want to see that high school running back come back out. We haven't seen it since his freshman year when he had that pick, I believe, against Auburn. But to me, the defense is throwing punches back. And I left Saturday's practice with this thought. Man, I like the way the defensive line was pressuring and getting back there, and I think these guys are really good. I think Patrick Payton's going to have a big year. I'm feeling really good about Bernard Gooden. Clyburn is playing outside and inside. I like the way that he looks. They feel great about Bro and certainly feel good about McKinley. Relaford looks healthy and good, and I feel really good about this front seven. But, and this is what you always have to do when you're talking about scrimmages between the same team, do they look good because LSU has a bad offensive line that can't block anybody? Like, that has to stick in the back of your mind as a distinct possibility when you go out there and you feel like the front seven has kind of wrecked the day. But today, I don't have any of those thoughts on the back end because I know that Chris Hilton's good. And I know that Nick Anderson has been uber productive at Oklahoma. And I know Barry and Brown holds several Tennessee records and has an SEC record for kick returns and can run like a deer and has made huge plays for a week in camp. And I know Xavier Thomas is explosive. I know all these things to be true. So if you've got guys out there in Stamps and Woodland and Perkins, and then you've got Halsey making plays, and like you've got these guys doing that against guys that I know are good, well, those are good reps by those guys. I don't have to question it. So I'm encouraged by what I've seen. Am I still concerned a little bit about the offensive line? Yes. Am I completely and totally sold that LSU is going to be a dominant defensive front? Not quite. But if you read my piece on LouisianaSports.net today, not today, Sunday, you saw I ranked the position groups and I put edge first. Because I think those guys have skins on the wall, experience, talent, and a great position coach. But they still may be aided a little bit by the fact that LSU's offensive line might not be great. There are variables there, but there are fewer of them when you talk about LSU's receivers going against those corners. So I am encouraged by what Baker's unit is doing right now. I'm encouraged. I'm not down on the offense at all. I'm not quitting on the offensive line at all. In fact, they had some good moments today. Garrett Nussmeier was cleaner today in the pocket than he was on Saturday for sure. And I think that's the healthiest thing you can have in a fall camp is there's a little bit of tug of war where one day the offense wins one day the defense wins one day the offense wins one, the offense wins another one, the defense fights back. And I can say this, the intensity level is high. There's a little bit of chippiness out there. Those guys are competing, and I think it's been a fairly competitive fall camp between LSU's offense and their defense, and most of us feel like the offense is going to be explosive. The defense can hold their own with those guys. That's a big, big deal. So that's where we start today. Our Genesis opening drive out there at LSU's football practice. I've still got more that I want to get to. I want to talk a little bit about Bernard Gooden. I want to talk about my position group rankings. Got to do a lot more LSU football. We'll get to meet the freshmen coming up in 15 minutes. Stick with us. Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com is that website. Jonathan Carbo's team are awesome to work with. I spent, as you know, 7 years in the insurance business, so sitting down with them and kind of talking the language is kind of a nice refresher for me, and it certainly lets me understand just how deep their expertise runs. They've got a creative team, a really sharp team, and one that prides itself on its ability to take an existing insurance program and make sure all the loose ends are tied up, make sure all those I's are dotted, T's are crossed, and that if something were to happen, that insurance policy responds properly. The worst thing that can happen for you in insurance is that you spend a significant amount of money on your premium and then it's not right. And then something happens and you don't get a claim. You just have to pay it out of pocket. That's the worst case scenario. You can avoid that. Talk to the Highland Insurance Group. Say, hey, I've got this program. I know it was the cheapest one I saw, but I'm not really sure what it does. Can y'all make sure it's right? That's what they do. They'll audit it for free. They'll show you their findings. And if there need to be significant fixes, they will make them. They're an independent agency. They've got contracts with dozens of markets. They'll make sure you're in the right place with the right coverage at the right price at the Highland Insurance Group. It's the Highland Insurance Group online at HighlandIG.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
So, moving forward with LSU football today, there are two guys that I want to talk about. I'll start with A.J. Halsey because I talked about him last week, and so I'll be very brief here. Every time I go out to practice, I'm impressed further with Halsey. I was impressed with him the first day because I watched him run with the safeties and went, well, he's the most physically put together. Like Deshaun Spears is taller and maybe more imposing in that way, but Halsey, in terms of his build, is the most physically bulky. And that stood out to me because I know his background as a guy who made 24 tackles in a game and was the Big 12 Newcomer of the Year and was a first-team All-League player in the Big 12 last year and was tied for the lead in the Big 12 in interceptions. I know he can play the ball. I know he's not afraid to go down there and make tackles. And then you see what his size looks like. And you're like, okay, that guy looks the part. And then he's out there talking, not like smack talking, like he's communicating with everybody and getting them in places that they need to be. And then he's making plays. He's making plays on the ball in coverage. Today, Xavier Thomas was on a slant. He flies up there full speed and hits Thomas. It wasn't like a full wrap up and tackle. It was an aggressive thud for a non-tackle period, but it knocked the ball free. And I've seen him in the background backfield making plays against the run. We saw that on Saturday. He is, to me, unquestionably a starter. I would be stunned if they go out there against Clemson and Halsey's not one of the top 2 safeties. They're rotating those guys in every rep almost. Like the first rep we saw, it was Tamarcus Cooley and AJ Halsey at safety. And that was in the 7-on-7. And then they came out in 11-on-11, and Javian Toviano and Jordan Gilbert were the safeties. There is a constant rotation of guys. So trying to peg the depth chart at this point is a fool's errand. I'm telling you that I think AJ Halsey is a surefire starter. There's not anything in his game that I see and go, yeah, but he can't. He tackles, he covers, he talks, he's physically built, he's old, he's got skins on the wall. Like the only mark against him I could come up with is he's never played in Blake Baker's defense before, and he wasn't here in the spring. That's the only negative I can say about Halsey, and at this point, I don't care about that at all. Get him out there. Now, the second guy is one that I've mentioned a couple times last Thursday, last Friday, but one that I need to now spend 5 or 6 minutes on. LSU's offensive line cannot block Bernard Gooden. Cannot. I noticed him in the first practice on Wednesday when no one had any pads on besides a helmet. And I'm just not going to do backflips over defensive tackle, getting into the backfield and making and I use air quotes here, tackle by touching a running back's shoulder in a no pads 11-on-11 3/4 speed drill with no tackling. That's not good. I noticed it and I made a note, but I'm not going to come on here and go, y'all cannot believe this guy from South Florida who has come in with no pads on and in no tackle drills at 3/4 speed. They cannot keep him out of the backfield. That's not a segment. But now I've seen him put pads on twice, on Saturday and today. I've seen him in 11-on-11, and they can't block him. He is in the backfield on running plays and passing plays consistently. And on Saturday, we talked to 4 different players, and we talked to Jacoby and Guillory, and I wrote about this at LouisianaSports.net in my Jacoby and Guillory story. But Guillory's like, that dude's motor is absurd, and his get-off is ridiculous. And that's what we're seeing. I don't know if Bernard Gooden is an every down defensive lineman. I don't know that he can't be. I don't know that he is. And they've got guys to rotate through. But when they need playmaking ability and a guy to shoot a gap, that is Bernard Gooden too. He's the best on the team after a week of practice by a mile. And we've seen different defensive fronts that have Gooden at one tackle and Bro at the other. Gooden at one tackle, Pyburn moving in at the other. That's when they're trying to get more quickness, more disruption, as opposed to the Jacoby and Guillory, Sadir Mitchell, Sean Washington guys that are more space eaters. This is Kyle Williams' style of player. And I'm encouraged by the Pro Football Focus scores from last year at South Florida, especially the one against Alabama that was decent. I'm encouraged by the numbers, 10 tackles for loss. That tells the story of what we're watching here. And sure, maybe Braylon Moore and Josh Thompson and DJ Chester and Paul Mabenga and Cohen Eccles and some of those offensive guards aren't right now first-team All-Americans, and that's why he's having success. But I'm just telling you, the consistency with which he's making these plays tells me it's not a fluke and it's not just based on the one offensive lineman that can't block him. There's an entire unit of interior offensive linemen that are having nightmares with this guy through a week of camp. And it's not just today. It's today. It's Saturday. It's last Wednesday. It's every day. And it is very, very evident to me that he's making real waves early on in camp. Now, I want to piggyback on the point I just made there, because you are seeing, not just once, on multiple days now, LSU moving Jack Pyburn down to tackle at times. I think he's probably a starting end at this point, but if you start to look at that and call it whatever you want, the cheetah package, the NASCAR package, the whatever you want to call it, where they're going to go get pressure. It's 3rd and 11. It's 3rd and 9. They're going to get their guys on the field they think can get up the field. When that happens, Gooden is out there and Pyburn kicks down. And I like that look a lot. I don't know how Jack Pyburn feels about it because he basically transferred from Florida, his home state school, because they didn't play him on 3rd downs. And this is playing on 3rd downs, but it's playing in a telephone booth on 3rd down between guards and tackles, as opposed to out on the edge where he's going to generally start games and will do a great job playing the run. But it's interesting to me that they're getting dudes on the field that can rush the passer, and that means Gooden's out there, Pyburn kicks down, then you see some other guys. You see Kalaj Cobbins, who's really shown some get off as a pass rusher, both in the 11-on-11 drills and in the one-on-ones with the pass rushers. You're seeing Gabe Relaford for sure. You're seeing Patrick Payton for sure. You're seeing a number of guys that can go out there and rush the passer. You're not going to see Jacoby Guillory in that spot. You're not going to see Sadir Mitchell or Sean Washington in that spot. I'm not sure if that's a spot for Dominic McKinley. Certainly Ahmad Bro would fit the mold of a shorter guy who can shoot gaps and get back there and be disruptive. But I can't let this show go on any further without stopping and making sure you're all aware of the impact that Bernard Gooden has had. And it's not just me that notices it. I watched Wilson Alexander's from The Advocate practice report. He talked about it. I watched Matt's social media video on our social medias. Yeah, he talked about it too. And it's not a deal where a lot of the time at practice we're fraternizing a lot. Not that we don't get along with all the media. We certainly do. But you're frantically writing and trying to make sure you don't miss the next rep because you're trying to write who threw it and who was in coverage and who caught it and what number was there and who was down and who was playing left tackle. And you're trying to write everything down, and then it's time for the next play. So there's not a lot of communication between the beat folks during practice. So when you get out of practice and you write your report, or I give my report here on the air, or Matt does his on social media, or Mike Scarver and Buddy Saundry, whoever it is, you're basically getting it's not a group think tank that's giving you those takes. It's generally what you saw. And everyone is mentioning Bernard Gooden. If he doesn't make a huge impact this year on the field, it won't be the first time we've hyped somebody up that never really made a huge impact, but it would shock me based on what I've seen. And the fact that he's old, and the fact that he did it at South Florida, and the fact that this is his skill set, and this is the skill set that Kyle Williams wants. How many times have you heard me say over the last 3 weeks talking about Kyle Williams and with the in-depth chart and with the Meet the Freshmen, like he wants guys that are athletic, active, and can get into gaps and make plays in the backfield. He wants 2nd and 13. He wants 2nd and 12. And the guys that do that generally aren't 325 pounds, getting back there and tripping guys up in the backfield. You saw that from Gooden on Wednesday and on Saturday and today. He's been absolutely fantastic thus far. And that was one of the late portal ads. Seems like they may have hit on that one. So that's kind of an overview on what I saw. The one piece that I haven't talked about that I'll get to here is Juwan Johnson's role. Juwan Johnson, I talked about this a lot. I'll save that for the end of the hour. I'm going to do Meet the Freshmen. I'll talk about Juwan Johnson at the end of the hour because I want to give this a little bit of time to breathe. This is a guy that I talked about when they moved him to quarterback, and I said, I don't like this because the 3rd or 4th team quarterback on a championship contender is worthless in terms of competing for a championship. And I didn't like moving him to quarterback. Well, they've moved him to quarterback. He works out with the quarterbacks, but he's doing other things, including play running back. So we'll get to that at the end of the hour, and I'll kind of give you my thoughts on where he fits in and what Brian Kelly had to say about him today because he mentioned Juwan Johnson and essentially said, maybe redshirt this year. So we'll talk about that at the end of the hour as well. When we come back, it's time to meet the freshmen. We did a couple on Friday. We'll do 2 more today. It's going to be Harlan Berry and Teron Francis. I'll tell you about those 2 guys when we come back.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Vaughn and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. It does not have to be a fully extensive and expansive remodel for you to call One Bath and Closets. They are happy to do that. They're licensed contractors. They can handle it soup to nuts, the entirety of the project they can do. But if that seems too invasive, not the right price point for you, or just not necessary at your home right now, how about a tub to shower conversion? If you don't like your tub, either the way it looks or it doesn't work properly or you never use it, Take it out. Put in one of those gorgeous glass walk-in showers. Change the functionality of your bathroom. Change the aesthetic of your bathroom. Add a little value to your home. You spend a lot of time in the bathroom. Make it look nice. David Vaughn and his team are happy to do it. It starts with a free consultation. So call David. Talk to him online. Set yourself up to have that conversation with David about what he can do for you. He will customize his result to your exact specifications. He'll do it right the first time and leave the competition behind. It's One Bath and Closets. Find him online at onebathandclosets.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Go to Clemson, South Carolina, or thereabouts at the top of hour number 2. Facts and Childress, host of Facts on Sports from 10:55. The Roar, the flagship of Clemson Athletics. We'll get a kind of a thought on what's going on at Dabo's camp after a week. So do that at 2 o'clock. Looking forward to that conversation. Probably do it again in a few weeks before we get ready for kickoff. Right now, just worried about yourself at this point. Speaking of worried about yourself, Beck, are we on baby watch at this point? How are we feeling after the weekend? Are we thinking we're going to get to Friday? Are we thinking maybe you need to leave in the middle of the show today? How do we think things are going?
Things are going very well. I would not be surprised if I'm here for the whole week at this point. And the due date is Friday, but I am really.
It sounds like your experience is a little different than mine. At this point, my wife already had both babies at this point, but she was miserable.
No, Maddie, she's been perfectly
Are we doing
fine.
any like bouncing on the exercise ball?
Hadn't done that.
We're not doing any. Alyssa was doing everything under the sun.
Yeah, because I'm sure she was trying to speed up the process, but Maddie has not really felt like she needs to speed up the process, so she's not worried about it.
All right, good. Look, low stress in the Beck household. That's what we like. If you got to leave in the middle of the show, I guess I'll know what's going on.
You'll know.
All right, good deal. Let's meet the freshmen then, shall we?
Meet the freshmen. Freshmen, meet the freshmen. They're the newest Tigers on the team.
You probably heard of this one. We'll start with Harlem Berry today. Harlem Berry, one of the headliners in this class of 2025. He was the number 1 running back in the on-3 composite and had really been that for 3 years. 5'11", 190 pounds is what he is listed at currently. I'm told he's gained 15 pounds since being here. He is still on the slender side, and that's to be expected. He wasn't going to be a bulky back at this point in his career. Like Caden Durham got to LSU pretty well put together because he's only 5'9". Harlem Berry's a little bit taller than that. He runs a little bit more upright than that, and he's a little bit some more slender than that. But you're talking about a guy that's just got elite physical traits. He won the 100-meter. Now, it's 1A, but still, when you consider your high school years and consider that Harlem Berry won the 100 meters as a freshman, that's impressive. Like, just me, non-athlete guy, I was 5 inches taller my senior year than my freshman year and probably 25, 30 pounds heavier. Like, when I was a freshman in high school, I was like a literal child. He's winning the 100 meters at 10.98. Last year, he ran the 200 meters and posted a time of 21.8, which was second in the state in his classification there from St. Martin's. He was under our All-American, obviously, and one of the most heralded players in this class. He was here for bowl practice. He was here for the spring. He's here in the fall. When we go out there, and this is just number of reps, like Caden Durham is taking the vast majority of the repetitions. Caleb Jackson is very clearly second. And then they get Harlem Berry involved a little bit. Today, they tried to get him out on the perimeter in a play that kind of got blown up because there's a bad snap. But he hasn't touched the ball a ton. But when he does, he's wildly explosive. There's a play that's burned in my brain from last spring when they weren't in a full tackle period, but they were in a bit of a thud. Like it was not a touch. It was more of a make a little bit of contact and everybody stay upright. So you gather my drift there. And he made 4 or 5 defensive players miss. The vision, the balance, the body control, shiftiness, agility, whatever you want to call it, it's there. And he's not ready, in my opinion, to carry the ball 24 times in an SEC game, but I think he's ready to make an SEC linebacker look silly. I think he's ready to outrun an SEC linebacker to the sideline. And I think that's the task that Joe Sloan has and Frank Wilson has in getting him a little bit involved in this offense, because he has to be. You can't go through the season with just Caden Durham and Caleb Jackson. That's not enough. You have to get three guys involved. And Barry is that next guy. Now, we'll talk about Juwan Johnson in the next segment, but Barry is a candidate for that role, and I think could be an impactful player this year. It would surprise me a little bit if he had the impact that Caden Durham did last year. I think he's still got to put on some weight. I think there are a couple of guys in front of him, but I'm excited about Harlem Berry's career in Baton Rouge, and I think a lot of people are as well. The second freshman for today is Teron Francis. Teron Francis is from Carr, which we know is an absolute treasure trove to the college recruiter. It's just been a program that has churned out elite-level athletes all over the field for well better than a decade. And Teron Francis is the next in that line. Consensus 4-star recruit, wide receiver, 6'1", 200 pounds, and just speed to absolutely burn with Teron Francis. We talked about track times with Harlem Berry. He anchored Carr's 4x100. I don't have to know anything about the other guys on Carr's 4x100 to know that they're all really fast, because I've watched Carr's football team play. And he was on the anchor that finished third in the chain championship meet. He was the number 28 player in the on-3 composite at wide receiver, number 9 player in the state of Louisiana, and was a really, really productive player with some pretty good size at 6'1" and 210 pounds. And he's made some catches as we've been out at practice. He is not just a speed guy. He can catch the ball over the middle of the field. His best attribute is his speed, but he can do a lot of different things. So when you look at Francis, I look at the depth chart. I don't see a role for him on this team. They just went and got too much talent out of the portal. In fact, they have so many good wide receivers. I don't think, and I'll try for exercise here, I don't think I'll be able to go through and name everyone out of the first 8. I'll try. Aaron Anderson, Chris Hilton, Xavion Thomas, Kyle Parker, Nick Anderson, Barian Brown. That's 6. And I feel like I'm missing, before I get to Teron Francis and Kylan Billiot and Jelani Watkins, maybe. Maybe I got him. That's 9. That may have been all of them, but you get the point. Like, there are so many guys that it just doesn't feel like a freshman is going to come in and crack that code quickly. I could be wrong. It could happen. Certainly wouldn't be the first time. But it feels like LSU right now is running with Anderson at the top when he's healthy, and he wasn't out there again today. I'll just briefly brush this aside. Brian Kelly talked about Aaron Anderson today. He's just got some hamstring discomfort. It has nothing to do with him not being in shape. He never missed a day in the summer. He's been working out religiously. He's had a great summer and a great offseason. He's just got it a little tender. They're going to make him move around a little bit on Tuesday, which is tomorrow. And then they expect him to potentially be ready to go on Wednesday, full speed. You could tell he was a little gimpy on Wednesday of last week, and he hasn't practiced since. But I don't think right now it's massive cause for concern. That's my Aaron Anderson aside. I think he's just fine. But back to Teron Francis, I think he's got he and Philip Wright have got big careers ahead of them at LSU. I think got to wait a year. I think you got to wait, because next year you're going to lose Aaron Anderson, you're going to lose Chris Hilton, you're going to lose Nick Anderson, you're going to lose Barian Brown. You're going to lose really your top 4 guys or so. You might bring Kyle Parker back, but then you're going to have to kind of overhaul it, and Francis could be a huge part of that. But right now he's a guy that's working on the 3rd team. He made a huge catch and run in the spring and showed his explosiveness, and that's without question. He's a massively explosive dude. Just don't think at this point he's going to crack through that list. I do expect Barry to get some touches. I'd be surprised if Francis played a ton. So there's your Meet the Freshman here on this Thursday. We'll do 2 every single day until we have done every single one of them today. Harlem Berry and Teron Francis are your freshmen. All right, we'll step aside. We'll come back and close things out. Juwan Johnson, 1, he's shifting roles. 2, Brian Kelly had something to say about his role as far as eligibility goes this year, and that was interesting. We'll talk about it next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge, genesisofbatonrouge.com. If you haven't noticed, there's a lot of Genesis cars driving around. You'll notice now. Just take a look. And it's for good reason. It's a luxury vehicle at a reasonable price. And when I say luxury vehicle, don't think, well, I obviously can't afford that. We'll look somewhere else. Go to genesisofbatonrouge.com and check out the inventory. It's phenomenal. The line of vehicles is first class. And one of the reasons it's first class is because of the safety features in the vehicle. All of them. Every single model on the line is an IHA top safety pick. All of them. So you know if you get behind the wheel of a Genesis, you're getting behind one of the safest vehicles on the road. And that's so important as we go to pick out a car for our family to ride around in. Plus, they're stylish, comfortable, and they're wonderful customer service, an amazing facility, and you get to kind of join the club of being a Genesis driver. Go check them out, Airline at Pico. Check out the website, genesisofbatonrouge.com, genesisofbatonrouge.com.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
What do we think Sandler got for Billy Madison 2 from Netflix?
What, you mean Happy Gilmore 2?
Yeah, what did I say, Billy Madison? Happy Gilmore 2. What do we think?
I'm sure Billy Madison 2 will be coming as well.
Yeah. What do we think he got for Happy Gilmore 2?
I would venture to say it's somewhere between the,
He got 20 million, 50 million?
I don't know about that. I would say it's probably somewhere in the 5 to 10 million range. Maybe 20. 20 would be the max, in my opinion.
I feel like he should get more.
Really?
And I say that because I'm getting some text messages today.
Because people are interested in golf now?
No, because there is a clip running around from Netflix of Whit Weeks and Nuss playing NCAA.
Okay.
And my voice is on it.
Oh.
It's one sentence, big sentence. I think the sentence is, if Garrett Nussmeier goes to the NFL, LSU's football program's in trouble. I think that's the whole sentence. I think it's like 6 seconds. And if you extrapolate that out, I think I'm entitled to at least 8 million.
Oh, yeah. I mean, what are the numbers on this video, I wonder? I mean,
I'm not concerned with that. I'm concerned with how many millions Netflix is going to send to me directly.
I'm just saying, if the video's depending on how well it's done, then that'll affect how much money you would get.
I just want the cash.
Well, yeah, I understand. I understand that.
How much do you think I should be entitled to from that?
Not much.
Well, that's a ridiculous answer. I think
your answer is ridiculous.
I'm trying to see how many views this has. Cassie liked it. It's got 4,500 likes.
Okay, that's pretty good. What do you think, Cass?
Well, weren't you also in the money game? Like, did you get anything for that?
Yeah, that's true.
I don't even know. I don't. I think Garrett sold me down the river.
It sounds like you need to talk to some counsel here.
You got to get something for that.
I think millions, right?
You need to. Yeah, I think you need.
Everybody on Netflix gets millions. The Tiger King probably got money.
Did you know you were gonna get used for it? It's like they didn't even ask you; they just used it.
Absolutely not. Just used.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody in a corporate office that's far more important than me across the way figured it out. Or maybe they're taking my checks.
Oh my gosh, I didn't think about that.
But you think about 6 seconds on Netflix, that's think
about the Super Bowl commercials that cost $1 million every 5 seconds or something.
Just saying.
Yeah.
I may not be coming in tomorrow if I get this into the right hands.
Yeah, you got to get it in the right hands, hon. That's the thing.
We could be really cooking.
Yeah.
All right. I'm an idiot. I'm not going to get any money from any of this stuff. I'll just continue to work and hope that something happens. Let's talk about Juwan Johnson because his role has been interesting, and the answer that Brian Kelly gave about him today was interesting. Juwan Johnson has been working at quarterback in the individual sessions, and he's been working at running back in team sessions. I've mentioned in practice reports that he is not in the no contact jersey like Nussmeier is, like Michael Van Buren is, like Colin Hurley is, and he is not taking snaps with any of the 7-on-7 or 11-on-11s. He doesn't ever take a quarterback snap in those periods. Now, he takes running back snaps and direct snaps off of those, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if he played running back and they tossed him a ball and then he threw it in a game this year. But he's not functioning as a quarterback once LSU leaves its positional drills. When they go to team stuff, so 7-on-7, 11-on-11, he goes to basically running back. And I'm great with that. I said this when they moved Juwan Johnson to quarterback. I was like, I don't like this move because I don't like when you take a guy who's an elite athlete. We know he is. He set every Louisiana production record in the high school ranks in terms of yards and reception and touchdowns. Like, you don't take somebody like that and put him as the fourth string quarterback, which the fourth string quarterback has never helped the team do anything ever. If you get to the fourth string quarterback, your season's over. So I didn't want him to move to the fourth string quarterback. If he can do anything else, I'll let a walk-on play fourth team quarterback. If Juwan Johnson can play the star like he did in camp last year behind Major Burns, then leave him there. If Juwan Johnson can play running back, I'm good with that because you're light on running back depth. You got Caden Durham, you got Caleb Jackson, you got Harlan Berry and JT Lindsey, the freshman, then you got nothing. I'm good with Juwan Johnson stepping in there as the fourth back. I think he can help. He moved to running back last year after Emory tore his ACL. He had been there for like 4 days, and he caught a touchdown pass. Caught it out in the right flat, turned it up, touchdown. Now, it's against an overmatched opponent, but still, he's an incredibly talented dude. So I'm good with them moving him to the running back spot. And I'm good with the wrinkles that he can add. I'm pretty confident that you're not going to see opposing defensive coordinators spend a lot of time on Juwan Johnson halfback passes. But it's available because he was a really good quarterback in high school. And I don't want him playing quarterback for LSU trying to chase a championship, but throwing one on a trick play, that sounds good to me. The other interesting piece to this entire puzzle is Juwan Johnson's eligibility. Now, keep in mind, Juwan Johnson got to LSU, as I mentioned, and played star. So he's playing the Major Burns position, the Harold Perkins position as a backup. John Emery gets hurt. He moves to running back. He's working at running back the rest of the season. Then they say, okay, Juwan Johnson's a quarterback, by the way. And he spends the individual sessions working at quarterback in the spring and doing some things with direct snaps and wildcat stuff, and that's what he's doing. And then you say he's back to running back. And so he hasn't really settled into any spot or any role in his more than a year on campus. And that's tough for any player. Like, we've seen guys change roles at LSU, some wildly successfully. Corey Webster, Devery Henderson, Marcus Spears. Like, huge success stories on one side of the ball and then back to another. Hester talks about how he was a safety for a couple days at practice, went back to running back. But it's tough on guys when you're working on something else and they ask you to do something completely different. And so Brian Kelly today said, here's the deal. Juwan Johnson's going to play in 4 games this year. And then we'll decide whether or not he's going to play in a 5th game because they value his time in Baton Rouge. And Kelly said something that I think is incredible. Said that, look, Juwan Johnson's done everything we've asked him to do. Because how many guys in this day and age, in this era, would say, okay, you started me at nickel or safety or whatever you want to call the star, and then you told me to play running back, and then you told me to play quarterback, and then you told me we'll go back to running back, and now I'm 4th string at the running back, and I'm 2 years into my high school career, and I didn't, my college career, and I didn't redshirt last year, and like, I'm out of here. Y'all don't know what to do with me, and I'm wasting years here. And apparently, based on what Brian Kelly said today, like, Juwan Johnson doesn't think that way at all. Juwan Johnson thinks, well, what do you need me to do? How can I help? And the coaching staff has gone to him and said, hey, here's how you can help, and here's what we want you to do, here's what we want you to work on, and here are the things we can do with you. But if we feel like we can get through this season without using you in a 5th game, we're going to do it to preserve your eligibility so that we can have you longer and we can find the exact role you need to play. And whether or not you want to say that's mismanagement by LSU or not, I'm here to litigate. Like, I'll have that discussion with you. But the kid's attitude is beyond reproach. Like, it's remarkable in this era that a player with that talent level, this is not some guy like, oh, I just wish I could play at LSU, and oh, this is such a great opportunity, I could never go anywhere else. This guy passed for more yards and scored more touchdowns, had more total offense yards and touchdowns than anybody in the history of Louisiana football. This is a guy who's been the best player on the field his entire life. This is a guy who is an immense athlete that I'm confident should have professional aspirations in football. And to never have a position nailed down for a year and a half is a tough look. But he's handled it great. So for me, as I look from the outside, I'm going, okay, I like the thought of Juwan Johnson playing running back on this team because this team has a sophomore, a junior, 2 true freshmen. You're one injury away, which generally happens in a season, of having 3 running backs. That's not enough. So for him, yeah, running back on this team, that makes a lot of sense. And if you have injuries and he's got to play, good. And if everyone stays healthy and he doesn't, good. They have a plan. Red shirt. And I think that's great that he's chosen that path and wants to stay at LSU. But it's been a fascinating watch to see him not only changing positions on one side of the ball, to change sides of the ball. It's a big, big deal, and he has done that in stride. So Juwan Johnson still working with the quarterbacks, but also playing a lot of running back as LSU breaks into team drills. All right, that's it for hour number 1. Fast-moving hour number 1 here on this Monday. We've got a lot of LSU football talk in the rearview mirror. If you missed it, catch it wherever you find your sound. Hunt on LSU. Meet the Freshmen with Harlan Bailey and Teron Francis. My thoughts on the last 2 practices I've been to on Saturday and on Monday. We've covered a lot, and we got a lot to do in hour number 2. We'll talk Saints a little bit later. Got Bruce Feldman's Freaks List. When we come back, Facts and Childress, talking Clemson football after Sports International headlines on The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.